It's 7:13 a.m. on a Thursday that smells like fresh-cut Bermuda grass and pure, unfiltered panic. And there are two Tulsa County Sheriff cruisers parked nose-to-nose in my driveway, red and blues painting my half-finished workshop like a crime scene. While Serena Vanderbilt, 49 going on Eternal Country Club Prime, stands 40 feet back in $600 yoga pants and designer sunglasses, arms folded so tight her veneers might crack, smirking like she's already picturing the viral video of me being dragged off my own land in cuffs. The lead deputy, Sergeant Morales, has one hand resting on his holster the way you do when you're not sure if the guy in front of you is a veteran with a coffee mug that says U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or the armed squatter the 911 caller swore was about to start shooting. I just stand there on the porch I poured myself, barefoot, 40 years of sun and sand still etched into my skin, and I feel this cold, slow rage settle in my chest like wet concrete. Because 6 months ago I paid cash for every square inch of this dirt, and now the queen of Willow Ridge Estates HOA just tried to have me swat because I told her, politely, to get the hell off my property. My name is Logan Reed, 54 years old, 20 years building bridges in places most people can't pronounce, 2 kids in college on my dime, freshly divorced from a woman who decided, till death do us part, had an expiration date. All I wanted was 3 peaceful acres on the edge of Willow Ridge, a 150-year-old post oak out front that shades half the yard like God's own umbrella, a detached garage I was turning into the machine shop I always promised myself after retirement, a place where my son and daughter could crash without stepping over their mom's new SoulCycle boyfriend. I checked everything before I signed. 2019 survey, clear title, property line ends 200 feet east of my driveway, outside the original Willow Ridge Estates boundaries, because I have heard the horror stories, the garden gnome finds, the foreclosure threats over Christmas lights left up until January 3rd, the pastel-wearing tyrants who think community standards means whatever keeps their property values artificially inflated. But 3 weeks after closing, while I was still unpacking tools that cost more than most people's cars, the Willow Ridge Estates HOA quietly filed an amended plat map with the county that swallowed my land whole, without a single certified letter, without a public hearing, without even the courtesy of a heads-up, just bureaucratic land theft dressed up in legalese. That's when I met Serena Vanderbilt, president of the HOA, top producing realtor at Vanderbilt Signature Homes. Vanity plate HOA QWN, the kind of woman who says aesthetic cohesion, the way other people say Heil Hitler. Week 1. A certified letter that smelled like money and menace, $2,500 for an unapproved structure, my garage, which predated their precious covenants by 4 decades. Week 3. Serena herself rolling up in a white Mercedes GLC, clipboard in one hand, phone filming in the other, informing me I was setting a dangerous precedent for the entire community. Week 5. Another letter, $5,000 plus $200 a day in penalties, threats of liens and foreclosure proceedings, the kind of language that makes your blood pressure do things the VA warns you about. I emailed back once, politely, with the survey, the deed, a legal memo from a buddy who owes me a favor, subject line, not in your HOA, please stop. She responded with a single emoji, the little laughing crying face, and that's when I knew this wasn't about dues. This was about teaching the new guy who didn't look like the brochure that some dirt is reserved for people who summer in the Hamptons, and the rest of us are just renting the view. They say the military teaches you to stay calm when people are trying to kill you. It doesn't teach you what to do when a suburban real estate agent with a god complex tries to bankrupt you with late fees. The harassment went from annoying to surgical. Orange code violation stickers on my mailbox, my garage door, even my tailgate, stickers that took brake fluid and profanity to remove. Anonymous calls to the city claiming illegal burning, unpermitted electrical, raw sewage runoff that didn't exist. Inspectors showing up bi-weekly like clockwork, using my trash cans as ladders to peer over my fence, trespassing in broad daylight, while Serena watched from her Mercedes, sipping an iced oat milk whatever. My neighbor Marco Delgado, retired machinist, 67, Bronze Star in a drawer somewhere, brought over a 6-pack one night and said, "Mijo, they're bleeding you slow. That's the play. Make it too expensive to fight. You sell cheap, they win." He was right. 9 other families were drowning in fines. One elderly couple staring down foreclosure because a $400 late fee had snowballed to 14 grand in 18 months. That's when I called Claire Donovan, attorney, early 40s, sharp enough to shave with, whose mom I once fixed a collapsing retaining wall for free after the 2019 flood. She took one look at the amended plat map and said, "Logan, this isn't sloppy paperwork. This is fraud with a capital F. Oklahoma law requires certified mail to every affected landowner. You never got one. That annexation is void on its face." But void on paper and void in real life are two different things when the other side has lawyers on retainer and a president who thinks rules are for poor people. Serena went nuclear. False police report claiming I threatened her life, trespassing on HOA common area, my own driveway. And suddenly there I was at 7:13 a.m. handing Sergeant Morales every document I owned while Serena stood back waiting for the cuffs. Morales took his time, flipped through the survey under the morning sun, radioed the county plat map, finally looked at Serena like she was something he scraped off his boot, and said, "Ma'am, this is a civil matter. Take it to court. We don't enforce HOA covenants." The look on her face when her little swatting stunt backfired was worth every sleepless night. Almost. Because 2 days later the HOA filed suit for declaratory judgment, claiming the corrected plat was binding, hired a bottom-feeder attorney named Wallace Trimble who wins by burying people in motions until they tap out. Claire countersued for fraud, harassment, abuse of process, and that's when discovery got fun. Turns out Serena's LLC had been paid 22 grand a year for community management services, while the HOA already paid a management company. Turns out $160,000 had simply vanished into administrative expenses. Turns out 3 homes foreclosed for fines in the last 4 years had been snapped up at auction by Serena's LLC and board members' family trusts at 45% below market, flipped 6 months later for 6-figure profits. It wasn't an HOA. It was a racket wearing Lululemon. We organized 11 families at first, meeting in backyards after the kids were asleep, trading horror stories like war veterans, because that's what we were, survivors of the same campaign. Claire filed RICO amendments, contacted the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission, subpoenaed bank records before Serena could bleach them. Then the twist nobody saw coming, not even me. I was at the courthouse paying a parking ticket when I saw the legal notice tacked to the bulletin board: non-judicial foreclosure sale, Willow Ridge Estates common areas, clubhouse, pool, entrance monuments, the whole 24 acres, auction in 30 days. Turns out in 2019 the developer went belly up mid-build. The HOA took a $1.4 million loan to finish amenities, interest only for 5 years, balloon payment missed by 18 months, bank quietly foreclosed. I stood there in that marble hallway that smelled like bleach and old money, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears, and I understood, for the first time, what checkmate feels like when you're the one moving the pieces. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I called my brother Wyatt in Dallas, commercial lender, voice calm like we were discussing fantasy football. "I need a bridge loan for 100 grand, wired yesterday." He laughed for 10 straight seconds and said, "Only you would accidentally start a revolution over a garage. Send me the docs." The rest came from a GoFundMe that exploded after Cassie Harlan, young mom and freelance journalist who was fighting 8 grand in swing set fines, wrote the first article. Local veteran faces prison over HOA president's alleged fraud scheme. 72 hours, $230,000 from strangers who were sick of being bullied by clipboard dictators. I stood on the courthouse steps the morning of the auction with a cashier's check burning a hole in my pocket and Serena Vanderbilt herself trying one last time to beg. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, voice cracking. "Logan, please, I'll resign. I'll drop everything. Just let someone neutral buy it." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Neutral like the LLC that bought those foreclosed houses for pennies? Pass." The gavel fell at 9:17 a.m. Sold to bidder number 9 for $910,000. I was now the proud owner of the clubhouse, the pool, the entrance gates, and every square foot of common area in Willow Ridge Estates, which meant I was, technically, the new landlord of the woman who tried to have me arrested on my own lawn. The courtroom dissolution hearing 30 days later was pure cinema. Serena showed up in funeral black with a lawyer who looked fresh out of traffic court school. Claire laid out the embezzlement, The foreclosure flips, the 1.4 million in defaulted debt, like a prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. Halfway through, the side door opened and Detective Rollins walked in with a warrant. The cuffs clicking on Serena Vanderbilt's wrists while she screamed, "This is a miscarriage of justice," echoed off the oak panels like the final chord of a very expensive symphony. The judge granted immediate dissolution, appointed Claire receiver, scheduled damages for malicious prosecution, and just like that, the Willow Ridge Estates HOA ceased to exist while its president was led away in tears. 6 months later, I stood in the clubhouse, same room where Serena once held court like a Bond villain, now packed wall-to-wall with neighbors who used to avoid eye contact, watching the first meeting of the Willow Ridge Commons Trust, dues $48 a month, board elected by one home one vote, every dime transparent, every rule voted on by the people who actually live here. The 3 families who lost homes to Serena's scheme got them back, with clean titles and restitution checks. The elderly widow who thought she'd die in a nursing home stood up at the first trust meeting clutching her old keys and sobbed so hard the microphone picked it up for the live stream. Serena pled guilty to felony embezzlement and fraud, 3 years in state prison, permanent loss of real estate license, $280,000 in restitution. Her mansion sold at sheriff's auction to a young couple with a baby on the way who just wanted a backyard without a dictator. We turned the old fine money into college scholarships, named the first 2 after the kids who watched their parents almost lose everything to pastel tyranny. The community garden now feeds half the neighborhood and the local food bank. Kids play basketball on a court that almost got condemned over the color of the backboard. Sometimes on Friday nights I sit under that 150-year-old oak with Marco and a couple beers, watching families grill and laugh and live without looking over their shoulders for the white Mercedes of doom. And I think about how close we came to losing it all because one woman decided some people don't belong. So here's the question I still wrestle with on quiet nights when the crickets are loud and the guilt creeps in. Was buying the entire HOA at auction and dismantling it from the inside sweet, cold revenge? Or was it the only way to turn a weapon pointed at us back on the person who pulled the trigger? Because make no mistake, what Serena did wasn't community standards. It was theft dressed up as bylaws. And sometimes the line between justice and vengeance is just who's holding the gavel when the truth finally comes out. If you've got your own HOA horror story, drop it below. You're not crazy, you're not alone. And sometimes the quiet guy with the coffee mug and the survey in his back pocket turns out to be the reckoning you never saw coming. Keep your receipts, your cameras, and your spine. Because the next clipboard tyrant might be measuring your lawn right now, and freedom isn't free, but damn is it worth the fight. See you in the next one.